I'm Andy in the Boomer TV studio, and the season continues now with Darla Noble and Phenomenal Families. Join our awesome Bloomer Boomer community and platform featuring live programs like today, all about living the best life you can after 55. On today's show, Darla talks about the physical hands-on things we need to do when becoming a caregiver. And now welcome Darla Noble and Phenomenal Families.
The first thing you need to do is be aware, okay, and understand the difference between dementia and just forgetfulness, okay? Forgetfulness is forgetting where you put your keys, okay? Come on, we've all done that. Or forgetting a grandchild's birthday, or forgetting some things at the store, or oh, I know I bought that can of soup, where did I put it? Or I know I have that here somewhere, I know I have a box of birthday cards here somewhere, something like that, something that an older person would do. That's forgetfulness. And even repeating the same thing over and over a few times, that's forgetfulness. Dementia is not forgetting where you put your keys, but forgetting what your keys are used for. Okay. Or forgetting things like, okay, I was my granny's caregiver. I noticed some things going on. She would forget to take her medicine, or she would forget different things. But when I found an ice cream bar one day in the drawer where the pot holders go, I knew that we were getting beyond just forgetfulness. I also knew the day that her best friend's daughter called me and said, Darla, I I have to tell you this because I was so worried, and I know you and Granny Wanda are, two peas in a pod. She said, I was in Walmart today, and Granny Wanda came hurrying over to me and grabbed my arm, and she said she just had this look of fear in her eyes. And she said, Janelle, she said, I don't know where I'm at. I don't know how to get to the front of the store. I don't know how to get to the front of the store to pay for my stuff. I'm so turned around. I'm so confused. I don't know what's the matter. And Janelle said, I just left my cart. I just left it, and I took her to the front of the store, and we checked her out, and I walked her to the car and put her stuff in the car and just prayed like crazy she would be okay. She said, I offered to drive her home. She said, oh no, I know how to get home. And she did. But but I knew then that things had to change. Something had to change. A lot of things had to change. And so those are the things that you need to be watching for, that they forget what their keys for. They put things in strange places, or they don't pay a bill. Um, I was always watching Granny's mail, and shortly after that, she had a late notice. She had not paid her phone bill. So I started being more and more proactive and taking things over without her realizing, because in her mind, there was still enough there that she didn't think anything was wrong. She had enough moments of lucidity that she didn't realize something was wrong. And so I had to be very careful, and that is my next thing. Be respectful and careful, because they are going to be in that situation where they don't think that anything is wrong, and for you to try to impose yourself in a disrespectful or too obvious of manner is going to cause hurt, and it's going to cause frustration and anger on their part, and it could set you back in your progress of helping them. It could do much more harm than good. So be aware, make mental notes or physical notes, and document incidences, so that when you go to a doctor's appointment, you can hand this note to them, which I'm going to get to that in a second. But you need to document things. You need to be very aware. Take some pictures with your phone if you have to, not to show them. I don't want you to ever say, oh yes, you did do this. Look here, I got a picture of you putting an ice cream bar in a pot holder drawer, or your keys in the refrigerator, or that is not what you do. You're gracious, you are gentle, you are careful. but you save those things so that you can accompany them to the doctor and slip these things very discreetly, even if you go to the doctor's office prior to an appointment and give these things to the nurse and say, would you please make sure the doctor has them before and has gone over these before I come with my mother, my father, my grandmother, my grandfather, my husband, or my wife to our appointment on such and such a date, so that you can be aware and they can be aware of these things. Um, Along those lines, you also need to make sure that you get your name, if it is not already, on a bank account, so that you are not left without being able to take care of their business with them or for them. Um, and there are ways when they are in moments and periods of cognizance and lucidity and stuff, what you say, you know what? And even, even if you haven't watched it, you know what? I was reading an article the other day. I was watching something on the news the other day that was talking about how older people, of getting scammed and people taking advantage and that sort of thing. And mom, I was just thinking it might be wise if you added me on the bank account, um, to where if something happens, I can stop this if you don't notice it in time. Two pair of eyes is better than one. We know that. Or make sure you're on their HIPAA so that you can get their medical information. Mom, you talked about how the doctor talks too fast or he uses words that you don't understand. How about if I'm on your HIPAA so that I can be in there with you and ask questions so that I understand, so that if something happens to you and you're in the hospital and let's say you're unconscious and somebody needs to make a decision, or needs to be able to answer questions, if I'm not on that agreement, I can't say anything, and we don't want something like that to happen. Um, you also, as things progress, don't correct them, okay? Just don't correct them, because it doesn't matter, okay? It really doesn't matter, because in 5 minutes, 2 minutes, an hour, they're not going to remember. So don't correct them. Just go with it, okay? Just go with it. Um, I'm also going to say that do whatever is necessary to allow them to stay in their home as long as possible. If that means you go several times a day, go. If that means you hire someone to drop by a couple of times a day or spend the night, do it. Because when you have dementia, any change, even a cold, people will set them back further. Okay. Um, so changes in their routine, like a new place to live, having to get there, they can't even remember where things are in the place they've lived for a long time. To have to learn a new place it shortens their lifespan by months, if not years. Okay. I mean, it really can. It can shorten it by months. Um, make it easy for them. Take away the things that aren't that they won't use anymore, to make it less difficult for them to remember. If they have fewer things to remember how to use, fewer choices, they will be more apt to be able to make the right choice. A can opener, um, an electric can opener versus two or three types of can openers. Um, Medicines in a daily thing. Okay, those are a good idea, except they'll forget which day it is. Okay, they just forget. So if you can, or have a home health care worker or a neighbor that you trust, go by and set out their medicine for the day. Just a day. Have a little cup. Today's Monday's medicine, and write it out. A whiteboard with that you can write on. Monday's medicine, take it now. Okay. And just all at the same time, if unless there's some really time sensitive things. If not, if you are with them, if you are in their home or they are in your home all the time, then those things are eliminated. You can make sure they get it. But if they are still living on their own, until it gets to a point when it is just not safe for them to do so, then make these concessions, go above and beyond to do things for them, so that they can feel safe. Long-term memory stays, short-term memory goes quickly. Um, they will remember things better, and if they have long-term memory things around them, then they will be more congenial, they will be more comfortable, they will be less nervous. So if they are back in the 1960s, okay, or later, fill their room with things from that era, okay? If they talk about a favorite toy, get those toys, get, or, semblances of them. If they are remembering, I know my granny was all about, um, some antique things that they had, and she had a lot of them. So I made sure they were in her line of vision all the time. I took them off of high shelves and put them where she could see them because she remembered those things. I kept photo albums out, within her reach all the time because it was a way to just recall things, and it kept her mind working. Even if it was working kind of backwards, it was still working. So keep them thinking, but you have to get to their level. Guys, they're not going to rise up to yours anymore. You got to get to their level. They don't have it in them to get better. They're not going to get better. It's going to level or going to get worse. So you have to go with the flow. And even though it's a downward flow, you have to follow them and give them the things that they need and that will make them comfortable for that stage that they are in. Now, I know we are running out of time, and I have a few questions that I have been given over the years, of talking about this and things that people would ask me when I was caring for Granny. So I'm going to address a few of those. Um, the first one is, when is it time to say enough is enough? You can no longer live by yourself. Okay, that is a hard question to answer because there is no, I don't think, one set thing. Like I said, the longer they can stay in their own home, the better. There again, I'm going to say they can't deal with the changes as easily as you can. So go to them. Okay. If you can go to them and stay a couple of days or go into their home 2 or 3 times a day and make sure they have their medicines or meals, tuck them into bed at night. Um, and on that issue, when they're in their home, even, when you are there or a caregiver is there, you need to have bells on the door, on the front door, on the entrances and exits of your home, of their home. Have bells that ring if those doors open. And I mean just top, like little tinkly bells, like little jingle bells, big size jingle bells that jingle when whenever that door is open, so that you will know if they try to leave when they shouldn't. Okay. Um, if they have closed their bedroom door at night, put a jingle bell or something on there, or a nanny cam or a baby monitor. Baby monitors are wonderful for dementia patients as well, so that you can hear and see what is going on. Um, those things can help you so much when they are in their own home. You can have, if you are somewhere else and you're just thinking it may be time, but want to give them that respect and that, courtesy of staying in their home as long as possible, you can have, home security cameras that you can, log into from your phone or something like that, so that you can see them. Now I'm talking, if we're in the same town, not states away. You're going to have to make better provisions if you are miles away and cannot get to them within 5 or 10 minutes. Okay. Um, but, or have a home health care worker there. But bells, jingle bells on doors, um, locking the car, to where, or have an extra set of keys to the car. Um, lock up medicine cabinets and set out only what is necessary for the day so that they don't over medicate themselves. Um, things like that. Put, you can also, I, I had to notify our local 911 because Granny called 911 a couple of times when I wasn't where she thought I was. And she just said, I need Darla. I need Darla. Well, we live in a small county. Everybody knew us. We knew everybody. And so they were more than gracious, more gracious than they had to be with that. But notify them and give them that situation in case that would happen. Those first alert alarms can be good for some, but for dementia patients, I don't recommend them because they tend to fiddle with do have little nervous habits. And for grannies, it was pushing and things. A lot of times they will just push it. They'll fiddle with it. If they feel that around their neck, they'll play with it. And there it'll go off for no reason. So those are not really a very good idea for dementia patients. They won't remember why to push them. Okay. So you're going to have other safeguards in place. Baby gates at basement stairs, if they have stairs, or lock the door. Put a little chain lock thing higher than they can reach. They don't need to go down there anyway. The same goes for the attic. Okay. You can do things like that. And even if they are in your home, you need to do those things in your home to protect them. Okay. Baby gates on stairs, basements, second story, attic stairs, things like that. You have to protect them because they cannot protect themselves. Another question I had is, the combativeness. If they get combative, what do you do? That's a hard one. And that's quite honestly something that I personally don't have the experience with because Granny was never that way. But I do have some friends who have parents who are very combative, and they are dealing with that. Two of them are in their home. One of them is in a nursing home because she was an only child. Her mother was dead. It was her father, and he's big, and she just could not handle him. And her husband was working all day, and she just could not handle him physically, the combativeness. And it's just trying to stay one step ahead of the triggers, okay, and trying to find ways to get them to relax. Music, reading, a favorite toy from their childhood, pictures, a fuzzy blanket. Textures are a big thing with dementia patients. Textures, find the textures that are comforting to them. Dietary things, watch what they've eaten. If they begin to be combative, television shows, noises, find those things that trigger the combativeness and remove those. Okay. Remove those and it's just one step ahead, guys. You always have to be thinking ahead because they can't. And last but not least, because I know we're out of time, patience. Be patient, guys. Remember, they don't know. They don't know any different. They don't know what they're doing. They have no concept of their actions. They cannot be held responsible for their words, their actions, or their attitudes. But we can. Okay, we can. We have the choice to respond with graciousness, with mercy, with unconditional love, with gentleness, with compassion, and patience. Again, lots and lots of patience. So being a caregiver is not easy, but I will tell you that as hard as it was and as sad as it was at times, I would not trade 1 second of it for anything, because when I look back at my life, I want to have no regrets. We talk about as bloomer boomers, we talk about bucket lists. I know Andy has a great book on bucket lists for bloomer boomers. And you know, one of those things on my bucket list is to not have regrets for the way I treated people. And as a caregiver, you want no regrets for the way you handled the situation. So embrace it, go with it, be patient, see it as a blessing, and remember that if there comes a time when you find yourself starting to digress, trust those and love those who end up caring for you. Okay, Andy, that's all I have for today. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
Well, you and I were talking about that program that we saw about what the life expectancy is
Yes,
for people
yes,
who are in
yes.
this just coming into the world.
Right, right. Yes, and that's a good point to have, Andy. You know, if you guys watched, it was actually on 60 Minutes last Sunday night, a program saying that the babies being born within this generation are going to like 60 or 70% of them are going to live to see their 104th, 105th birthday. They're going to need caregivers. Okay. So as we learn, and they're going to be old enough to be our caregivers. So we need to get a handle on this. We need to be filling our lives with education, with resources. We need to be planning ahead to making sure that those lives are well cared for. Guys, I know it's time to go. Please reach out to me at dnoblerights@yahoo.com, dnoblerights.com, www. Of course, in front of that, my website where you can get my books, especially Please Pass the Memories, because it's full of ideas on how to love your family no matter where, no matter what, including being a caregiver. So, guys, next week we are going to talk about the emotional needs of someone with dementia, and the emotional needs of a family being caregivers. Okay, because caregivers have a lot of needs too, and they often get overlooked because they're so busy in the throes of being a caregiver that they forget to take care of themselves. So until next week, Andy, that's all I've got.
Well, thank you, Darla. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
We'll see you
Thank
next week.
you. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
You too. You too. Thank you for watching. You've been watching Phenomenal Families with Darla Noble. You can find out more on Facebook and YouTube and at bloomerboomer.com. And if you like this, please like us on Facebook and follow us. Meantime, you have a great rest of the week and happy Thanksgiving.